afternoon, and how are you all on this really quite cold Tuesday afternoon here in Ireland? I'm coming on here to do a review of a very interesting oracle deck that I came across whilst on my very recent trip to Prague. As you may have seen if you follow me on my Facebook page, that I took a trip with my mum, and we headed off to the Christmas markets in Prague, and we took in a lot of local history and visited areas of interest. It was a brilliant trip, and if anybody's considering going to Prague, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend the boutique hotel 7 days, who catered for all our needs, who assisted us when it came to getting taxis and Ubers. Actually taught me how to use Uber, because I've never used Uber before other than our trip to Prague, and basically ensured that our stay was very comfortable. I was extremely lucky to get to visit an art gallery, and it was a small art gallery situated down a very little alleyway. And what I really liked about Prague was the fact that you could go to the main square or anywhere, and the buildings are huge, they're beautiful, the architecture is astounding, and of course there's the astronomical clock. What a fascinating item that is, and not only is it an exquisite timepiece, but the art, the thought, the whole sort of collective that was put into creating this is amazing. But not far from the astrological clock, through a little alleyway, inside this little alleyway, there's a lovely little gallery, and that is the gallery of a lady by the name of Marie Brozova. Now, Marie was actually in the gallery the day that I went, and Marie is renowned for her work using pencils, and I have to say her work is quite frankly stunning. And when I stepped in and I actually got to see her at work, which was brilliant, and her lovely husband behind the counter who was serving everybody and showing us around, showed us it's only small, all the paintings or drawings and the colourings are on the walls. You've got them in notebooks, covers for notebooks, postcards, you name it, it's there. And I got chatting to them, and I happened to meander over, and I saw a deck of cards. Who better than to go in and fall in love with a deck of cards? You know me, my collection, both tarot and oracle, and I thought, oh, now this looks interesting. And the husband noticed that I was looking at them and explained that they were all in Czechoslovakian. However, they'd had them translated to English, and so they showed me the English deck. Now, I'm going to tell you, they're called the Interpersonal relationship cards. A lovely little guidebook comes with them, and we have the male and the female cards. And the male and the female cards come in this pack. They're neatly packaged in this little gauze bag, and they cut, like I say, they come in the two colour backs for male and female questions. And I suppose it doesn't matter really which ones you go for, whatever you're drawn to. And just as an example of the type of art that I just adore, look at this one. Isn't that beautiful? The colour, everything you can get out of that is unbelievable. And then you look at the colour on this one, and look at that. Isn't it beautiful? The artwork is just stunning, and like I said, it's all done with coloured pencil. So let's have a look and see what interpersonal relationship cards are. Interpersonal relationship cards. Relationships are the fabric of our lives. A happy life does not differ from an unhappy one by fame or fortune, but by the quality of interpersonal relationships, which is very, very true. We often ask ourselves, what role do I play in the current relationship? What do I mean to him? What does he mean to me? The interpersonal relationship cards divide into male and female archetypes, can help us find the answers that are essential to our future. Each of these archetypes is described in its positive and negative aspects and in different life roles. The clearer the question, the cleverer the answer. It doesn't matter if we are dealing with someone who has just entered our lives or if we are thinking about a long-term relationship. We divide the deck of cards into male and female, blue and red, and select from the appropriate half. The more specifically we manage to formulate a question, the more we will learn from an arbitrarily drawn card. We can ask about the past, the present, and the future. We can look for what we have to learn in complex relationships. We can confirm ourselves where we are investing our energy unnecessarily. We can find out what beautiful things destiny is preparing for us. Some of the questions, the type of questions that you can ask are, what partner do I need? What can I expect from him in the future? How do I affect him as a woman? Does this relationship have a perspective? And it goes on with a list of questions. What kind of father will he be? Should I learn in this what should I learn in this relationship? How does my ex remember me? What does my child need from me? So it can go along that way. Why don't I get along with my mother-in-law? How will my new boss or neighbour show up? How should I behave in this situation? And the list goes on. There's a list of questions there. Topics for the interpretation. There's the analysis of the current situation. So the interpersonal relationship card will help us explore the relationship we have with ourselves. One card already tells us a lot, but if we want to know more, we can draw 3 cards. Women draw from the red, men from the blues. The first card represents our past and completed tasks. The second one represents our current state and the challenges of the present. The third one indicates our future development. If we are not in harmony with this card, we can draw one or more that will lead us back to the right path. Examination of the chakras situation. All physical and mental difficulties reflect the imbalance in the energy centres of our being. If the chakra theory is close to us, we can draw 1 card from the whole deck for each of them. We will find out if a male or female energy predominates in it and how we can harmonise with it. So then we can sort of look what is our confidence in the higher sense, what are our visions and do we trust our intuition, can we express and assert ourselves, how do we love others and ourselves, how do we value ourselves and can we receive, what is our sexuality and creativity, how can we defend our right to life. So those are in colours, those would address each chakra. We then have first impression. Every now and then a new person enters our lives and our first reactions are often contradictory. The drawn card will help us to find out who he or she really is, what we can expect from him or her in the future, or what deeper meanings our meeting has. Are you interested in what impression you made at your first meeting? Just pull a card from the deck for your gender and you will know more. And we'll come back to the issue of gender in a second. Role in relationship. Every relationship, and not just a personal one, sets up a mirror through which we can know ourselves. If we can't get along with someone, it's good to ask what kind of mistake we make in the relationship, what kind of mistake the other person makes. The drawn cards may suggest that what roles we play in this relationship and where there is room for improvement. Choosing a life partner. Finding a life partner with whom we would like to start a family and grow old together can be considered a great happiness in life. The heart often pulls us beyond common sense, and it can help us make decisions by interpreting the forecast for the future. What will our partner be like in 10 years or 20 years from now? How will he be as a parent? How will he change once the children leave the house? A similar prognosis can be very beneficial even if we are hesitant between 2 people. Now, going back to gender, how would we use these cards if a person does not identify as either male or female? Well, my own opinion on that is you would mix the entire deck together and pull from the cards you are drawn to. So you could mix them all up. Now, this is something I would take from this, looking at gender and stereotypical gender roles. Would we actually pull from solely male or pull from solely female? I identify as female. I'm married, I'm a mum, and I have children. Which would I pull from? Well, it would depend how I feel, because there are often times I feel like I'm the stronger person in a relationship, and that would be sort of my more sort of male, identifying with my strong sort of male side to me, if there is one. So I would pull from these. Sometimes if a person's feeling, you know, it's whatever you're drawn to. So you could shuffle these up and just draw from any of them. Albeit this is stating male and female, that's based on as I say, gender roles, but that can be mixed together. And if you're male and identify as female, if you're female and identify as male, if you don't identify as either, shuffle them all together and just pull the cards. So I don't think that because this is stated that it's particularly female or particularly male, I don't think that it is set in stone that you would have to do that. I do feel these cards, you would use them how you see fit, and they are aimed at helping with relationships. So I think that anything that has any good to offer, despite how you identify, anything that can add a positive note to how you feel, whether whatever colour card you decide to draw from, whether you don't decide to draw from any but just shuffle, close your eyes and pick one, have a read. What does it say to you? So all these are issues that can be are topics that can be taken as you want to take them. Okay, so let's have a look. Maria Brozova, okay, she has the Pastelka Gallery in Prague. She is known for the Defence of the Coloured Pencils project and has created over 200 large format paintings in public since 2004. She has won several international awards for her unique coloured pencil technique, and since 2009 she has run the Pastelka Gallery in Prague's Old Town, just a few steps from the astronomical clock. Now, I have met Maria, I've had a chat to Maria, and I did tell Maria I'd be reviewing her deck on here, and I chatted to her husband, and I have to say they were two very welcoming, very friendly, extremely knowledgeable, and very, very welcoming. Maria herself, I have to say, is Marie herself is extremely talented. I actually love her art style, and I hope that by working through these are something that I could look at, not only to discover aspects about myself, but when I'm doing a tarot reading, and often if I'm asked about a relationship, these would be great to pull out and say, well, let's focus on relationship and we'll use these cards. So you can combine the two. So let's see what we have here. So we're going to look at the pink or red cards first. Okay, and our first one is Fighter. Fighter. And to think that's all patiently coloured in by hand. Serenity. I don't think anybody could accuse me of being serene. Friend. Mum. And remember, when you see mum, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a biological mum. It could be somebody that you identify as your mother, or you identify as yourself as a mother, if you're there in a matriarchal role. Lady. Some of these also remind me a little bit of some of the Lenormand cards as well. Housewife. Harmony. Healer. This reminds me a little bit of myself. Artist. Beautiful. Pillar. Freedom. I like that it's just the one word on the card. Medium. You can sort of use the image, use the word, and see together what they intuitively get you thinking about, get you talking about, get you feeling. Wild woman. That's another thing I have been called. Yes, wild woman. The only thing that's been missing is a motorbike. Something I would have loved. Hedonist. I think that could be all of us from time to time. Rebel. Definitely. Fairy. Goddess. And this reminds me so much of our strength card in tarot. Goddess. Grace. That's something I sort of lack. A little bit of grace now and again. Muse. Witch. Which also reminds me I still have an old pumpkin to get rid of. Optimist. I do love this because look at the big elephant, and look how his ears have been painted like butterfly wings. Ever the optimist, being able to fly, but fly in his own, you know, in a sort of just in his plans, in his words. So, you know, being a big person, being strong, being, you know, a go-getter, sometimes feeling a bit weighed down, but still having that ability to think, freedom, fly, do what you want to do, explore. And that could be every day, couldn't it really? Exploring what that new day brings to all of us. And sometimes we could have closed the day off feeling a little bit on the meh side, but waking up and saying, do you know, today I'm going to explore. I'm going to explore what made me feel like crud yesterday, and how I can stop a situation from making me feel like that again. Taking hold of the reins, exploring us, exploring our surroundings, exploring relationships, exploring. And when I say relationships, that's not just relationships between husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, girlfriend and girlfriend, boyfriend and boyfriend, or anything. It's working relationships. It's the relationships we have with ourselves, which is an important one. We need to make that a positive one in order to make every other relationship a positive one. Because if we're not at one with ourselves and being able to say, well, you know, I'm here for a reason. My point is as valid as everybody else. It might not agree with everybody else's, but it's just as valid. And we need to be comfortable with that. We need to be comfortable with us. Angel. Marie was saying that a lot of her images she gets from her dreams, from when she sleeps. That's her inspiration, and with her link with the angels, Mirage. So those are the pink. The I keep saying pink back decks, but they call them red. Okay. Our blue ones, the Conqueror, and you know that could apply to me. I've conquered many things in my life, and would I be offended that Conqueror isn't in the female side? No, because this is where I would mishmash the deck together and say, which energy am I using today? My strong inner sort of boss, masculine, that's the word. I suddenly had a brain fart, I apologise. Good guy, good girl, you know. Intellectual. Again, for both genders. Romantic, something for both genders. King. Now king, again like our strength card, but doesn't goddess sound better on that than king or queen? Caregiver. Caregiver. Idealist. Magician. Adventurer. Recluse. Visionary. Philosopher. And you know, male or female, you can be philosophical. Savage. We get a few savage females too. Hard worker. Joker. And we have another artist. I love the artist images. They are just so beautiful. I love all of them. Winner. Perfectionist. Gentleman. Tempter. It's a bit like our devil in a way, isn't it? The tempter. Ranger. Survivor. Inventor. And the dreamer. So I'm going to just shuffle the red backed cards. And I'm going to shuffle the blue backed cards. And I'm going to pick one from each. What qualities do I bring to the relationship between my husband and I? What qualities do I bring to the relationship between my husband and I? And I'm taking this one. What qualities to our relationship does our husband, okay, looks like I'm sharing him now, does my husband bring to our relationship? What qualities does my husband bring to our relationship? And that one there. Oh, right, okay. So I bring I'm the friend, okay, and my husband's the inventor. What he's yet to invent, I've yet to find out. But let's have a look at what these two cards say. So we'll go to the inventor first, because that one really has me scratching my head. The inventor. Nature in relationship. Oh, so first of all, the archetype for this card is Mars in Aquarius, Victor Frankenstein. There we go. Okay, so let's see what this says. Loneliness in the service of science and progress, living for a higher purpose. Nature of the relationship. Loneliness in the service of science and progress, living for a higher purpose. Well, we can break that down in a minute, because there's a good bit come to my mind in that, and I'll discuss that in a sec. Positive side, a fighter for progress, a researcher full of fantasy and original ideas. Well, he has original ideas, we'll give him that. Problematic side, a mad scientist. Locked in a world of his crazy theories. He's not willing to confide in anyone because he gets very suspicious, even paranoid. Morale recedes in the pursuit of new discoveries. He's not a team player. As a lover, absent-minded. When his sweetheart calls him to say she's ill, he'll tell her to call him when she recovers. He only enjoys relationship if there's no problems. As a husband, solitary. He can survive on TV dinners. He does not need the support of others. Relationships bother him and distract him from work. He's often scarce at home. He reacts to emotional scenes with a cold-blooded distance. I'd say cold-blooded distance a little bit on the harsh side. I can identify with that, but I wouldn't go as far as to say cold-blooded distance. I'd say more like, shit, I'm afraid, I want to back away distance. As a father, helpless. No, he becomes fierce and impatient when explaining what seems quite clear to him, but it's not clear to others. He's quite irritated by stupidity and incomprehension in children. No, that's not right. As a son from an early age, passionate about science. No. He devours professional books. No. And checks in practice whether gasoline will burn in the sink and in water. No. No. Life tasks, to use the scientific research results in many ethical issues. In the military, for example. No. Given to do so. They have to deal with the deaths of many innocent people. In the case of the bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, every expert must solve the dilemma for himself. Now, if my husband had been at the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, A, he'd be too old for me, and B, we'd probably find him still rocking in a corner. So that one I can't agree on. This one is, if I was to say inventor, okay, inventor in this would be completely different. I can identify where the inventor comes in. He's great at making up stories for kids. He's wonderful with children. He is totally the opposite to what it says here. As a father, he's amazingly funny. He's supportive. He's kind, and he likes to give advice. Naturally, all children, no matter what age, tend to think they know better than the parents, and therefore dad's contributions are often, oh yes, okay, but you know, he's got great ideas at times, and his ideas would be from the storytelling side predominantly. Sometimes if something's broken, he's not a great DIYer, but sometimes he has this sort of light bulb moment and can put what's wrong right. There are times when I would call him an inventor. He's sort of creative. The role would be he would panic over the little things, and whereas I would get irritated. Go, for goodness sake, there's no need to panic over this. Yet when I'm panicking and having a mental breakdown over the larger things, he's there to say it's all right. And he's able to step into that role of being the leader in the house, of saying things are going to be good, you know. So in that sense, the inventor, the maker, the creator of harmony. He can be the maker, inventor and creator of discord when he's got one on him, but can't we all? So that could actually fit with all of us in that sense. Absent-minded, I would have said, he very thoughtful. Where it says here, if his sweetheart calls him to say she's ill, now he can't cope with illness, I have to be honest, so that is right. He would rather say, okay, well, you go and stay with your mum while you get better, or your mum come and stay here and help you get better. He's great at running up with the cups of coffee and say it's time for your medicine now, but as a rule he doesn't like if things aren't great with health issues, but he's much better than he was. Yes, he can survive on TV dinners as a husband, but I don't let him survive on TV dinners. I don't want him to survive on TV dinners. It says here he does not need the support of others. He would make people believe that he does not need the support of others, but deep down he does. Relationships don't bother him. Our relationship is strong. What bothers him is the relationships outside, where the friendships can infiltrate or impose on our life. It's not that he pushes people away or doesn't like anybody having friends. That's not it at all. But there are boundaries that he feels should not be crossed. And so many times he's been proven right. As a son, he was never passionate about science. He wasn't passionate about anything to do with any form of learning. He is a manual worker, and he's extremely successful at what he does. So there are pieces that I can take out of that. So as with any cards, you take what fits. So if I was to read that without that book now, and I was to say, okay, where did we put it? Inventor, the inventor. He is the man who invents good times when times are tough. He's the man that can turn his thoughts to solving important issues, and who can turn around and say, look, this is merely a speed hump in the road of life, and we will manage to sort this out. Let's sit down and put our heads together, strip away the skins of the onion, find out what's caused this issue, and see how we're going to build up from this. He is everybody's friend. He is kind and helpful, and if he was to invent anything, it's not so much as an invention as creative, and loves telling stories and invents characters. So that's as far as the invention side goes. Friend is what we drew as to what I bring to the relationship. So let's see what friend says. So it's the moon in Gemini. It's Jo March from Little Women. So positive side, first of all, nature, a relationship based on friendship and open communication with each other, which is as important as breathing. Our relationship did start off as a friendship. Positive side, open personality, funny, charming, cheerful and communicative. She is interested in everything and she accepts everything new. I can identify with that. Not wanting to be big-headed, but yeah. Problematic side, a gossip. She doesn't talk much about her own problems, but discusses others in details. Nope, definitely not. She spends hours on the phone every day. Yes, I do. She puts her emotions and feelings through rational analysis. Yes, I do. I tend to not involve myself in the issues of other people because I find that it can only bring disharmony into your own household, and I find that if people want my input or want my opinion, they will come and ask me for it. When it comes to other people's problems, if I haven't been asked for an input, I will offer help if I know there's an issue. If that help is accepted, then fair enough. If it's not, but if my help is accepted, that information stays with me. It's not something that I would be to gossip about anybody else. I find that is an absolute pain in the ass trait in people. I really do. And because I've had my trust broken on so many occasions, I tend not to confide in too many people. Her love affairs often develop from friendships. When a friendship begins, so to confide in this intimate life. That's how ours started, yes. As a wife, she has a rational approach to the household, but in practice she can be chaotic. That is quite true. If she cannot spend enough time with her friends, she's depressed and feels trapped. Yes, I like to spend time with my friends, and I say yes, that could be true. As a mother, she does not admit unnecessary worries. True. She takes children with her everywhere, and she can entertain them with information and meetings with various people. True. She follows the motto that the best school is the school of life. Totally true. As a daughter, she learns to speak easily. Yes. She easily makes friends. She loves society and social events in which she can shine with intellect and arouse sympathy. Yes, I would say shine with intellect, but I wouldn't say arouse sympathy. I wouldn't want to arouse sympathy. I would like to arouse support. If I'm fighting for a cause or speaking for a cause, but sympathy, not sympathetic to a cause, then yes. Life task. In order to feel satisfied, she needs to learn to separate the essential from the irrelevant. I do actually, in the influx of information, I really do. But also to interpersonal relationships, not only in this way will she avoid the feeling of oversaturation and not being a doormat. Well, I got to be honest, I'm extremely lucky. I don't feel that I'm treated like a doormat. I still have some of the old-fashioned values of having a dinner on the table when they come in from work and that sort of thing, but that's just me. I do agree with the majority of this. I do not agree with the gossip side. That I found a bit, hey, hold on a sec. But then I have to ask myself, well, why did I find it offensive? Is there part of me that's a bit of a gossip? Perhaps there is. I am naturally nosy. I'm not going to lie about that. But gossip, no, I don't like gossip. So most of it I can identify with. So see, you can see from this how they can be read. But would I always use the book? No, not necessarily. So if I was to pick up friend, okay, if I bring into this friend into this relationship, we see a lady chatting on the phone. My father always said I was born with the phone in my hand, and my goodness, over the years have I had to hide phone bills. That is so true. Right, so we see someone sitting here multitasking. Her pencil's on her knee, ready to colour or to write. She's chatting away. Her typewriter in the background for working away. That is so much like mine. Game of chess there. A child under the table there, entertaining the child whilst working. Even the pets, the housework's done, the chores are done. Friend to both every member of the family, but to people outside the home too. Not just bringing in friendship to the relationship, but bringing in an air of camaraderie too, that we're in this together. Okay, so if I was to mix this deck up, so what I'm going to do here, and then pull a general card, so we'll just work out something here and have a look at something here. Let's see. I've got something else to show you after this as well. Let's have a look. And Marie was saying that when she created this deck, it's all her own artwork, but also the images and the interpretations came to her through her dreams and what have you. So it's really interesting. I find that extremely fascinating, because I feel that 99.9% of the time when it comes to any form of dreaming, I wonder, do I dream? And if I do, then it just escapes me completely, because nothing seems to stick. Right, so I've given these a good old shuffle. Okay, whoops. Now, besides my relationship, me as a person, describe me as a person. I've got them mixed, and I've got them mixed because I'm basically a tomboy. I have worked as an engineer. I've worked on building sites. When I didn't have a job, I worked on the buildings of plumbing, in the plumbing central heating business with my dad. So I have done a lot of jobs that wouldn't necessarily be considered women's jobs at the time, if we go back 30 odd years. So let's have a look. How can I be considered? What's my traits as a person in general? Not necessarily this relationship, but in life in general. Describe me as a person in life in general. And I am drawn. Oh, I'm actually drawn to 2 cards. I'm going to take the 2. Explorer and Ranger. So let's have a look and see what Explorer and Ranger tells us. Before we look at what Explorer tells us in the book, I love to explore life. I love to explore my interests and my hobbies. I love to explore tarot. I love history. I love geography. I love science and maths, and everything that you need to apply yourself and think and explore to find an answer, I love. So yes, for me, as in life and finding information and doing things, yes, I would consider myself an explorer. Anything that where I've got to find out, I've got to discover, I've got to delve. Yes, explorer, and I'm finding that in a couple of the projects we're doing now. The other one, the Ranger. Now, what would I say the Ranger is? We have here a leprechaun. Here we have a leprechaun. He's sitting with a stag. And Ranger. A Ranger is somebody who looks after the wildlife, somebody who's round there. And don't we say the little people look after the fields and the animals, and they have their fairy rings and fairy forts. And the little people are there keeping an eye. We've got our little lanterns here and taking care of nature. Let's have a look. If that's the case, if that's what it is, then yes, I'd agree. I love all things to do with nature. There's a lot in both those that I would take as being, yeah, they both describe me. But let's see what the book says. Do we agree with the book? Let's have a look. Ranger, Mars and Sagittarius, Aragon. School of Forest Wisdom, a return to natural instincts and primordial attraction between a man and a woman. Well, I don't know about the primordial attraction between a man and a woman, but I do know that I love being in nature. I love foraging, I love planting and growing, I love creating things with the herbs I grow and using new sort of tastes and salves and that sort of thing. So that is getting back to nature then, yes. Now, it's become from here, so I'm not going to refer to real man when it says real man, okay? So a real person proud, courageous, and admires the laws of nature by which that person lives in close connection. So yes, I would agree with that. And this is where I'm giving an example as to how we're looking at ourselves, but when it's split into gender stereotypes, that these stereotypes can be cross-gender. It can be to those who don't identify with the gender. So for that, you can quite easily say, right, I'm just not using the he for this. Okay. Problematic side: a peculiar individualist who bows only to nature and despises convention. I must admit, it's not that I despise convention. I think conforming to it can make a person boring. Despite the uniqueness, this person has a problem finding a place in society. That can be true, and has a penchant for fantasism. Yes, and I like to put that fantasism into writing, poetry, and that sort of thing. So there's very much that's true here, and I wouldn't necessarily put that you have a penchant for fantasism as being a negative, a problematic side. That could be very positive too. Raises children as in the last century. No, it would suit me if they were polite. No. I think this is too specific. I think that sometimes that we need to sort of water that down just a little bit, and raises maybe likes to. I would say there's a lot of things here that's not lost in translation, but it's sort of nailed down on a stern like bed of nails, in the sense that raises his children in the last century. Perhaps it would be sort of likes to raise the children traditionally, in the sense of having manners and respect. And that's what all of us want, is for our children to be seen with manners and respect, but not used as doormats, which is where we removed the last century bit, because people could place themselves in the form of doormats. If people came from a particular level, if they were from what the classes of the lower classes, then they would be brought up to, well, you have to say hello, sir, and no, people have to earn that right, and it doesn't matter what level of society you come from. You don't need to be treated like a doormat. So raising children, as in the past century, to be strong, to be independent, to be self-reliant, because our children aren't necessarily self-reliant these days, because they're wrapped up in that much bubble wrap and cotton wool, that they lose the ability to become self-reliant, that we're almost hindering them in their growth. So if that was to say, look at traditional ways of raising children as opposed to raising them as times gone by when it was not a positive way to raise children. Drawn to traditional human. Right. Life tasks, dissatisfaction with a superficial human society governed by false morals, and drives this person to exile, whether in solitude or eternal nomadism. Yeah, I can identify with some of that. I am dissatisfied with the superficial human society that we have this day, because there's a lot of sort of falseness about the society that we live in. And it's not that I withdraw from society, but I withdraw from mixing socially to the extent that I used to. I tend to focus on me, my interests, my hobbies. My kids are all grown up and I can afford to do that. My husband does his own thing, I do mine. And that way everybody's happy. We'll discover the strength only after he can put down roots, reconcile with spirits of his ancestors, and live in his beliefs profoundly. Well, isn't that strange? Because what are we doing as a group on my page now, on my channel now? We're looking at our ancestral grimoire and working on ancestry and finding roots and putting down roots and feeling that there is discovering where we all come from. So yes, that does fit. And so there are aspects of it that I agree with, and there are aspects that I disagree with. But then it would be a strange world if we all think, oh yeah, that's right. You need to question, you need to ask, you need to see, how can I identify with this? Does it fit me as a person? Doesn't it fit me as a person? And why? And how could I interpret that card my way? Remember, when you buy a deck of cards, whether it's tarot, oracle, Lenormand, yes, things have specific meanings. But remember, the energy that's in those cards when you take on those cards, you cleanse them, you make them yours, you put your energy into them, and the word is there to prompt you, the image is to prompt you, and you take what you can from that. And you often identify, which we have done, that there are aspects to what you get from that card that actually come out in the book. And this one, Explorer, let's see what I said. Does it have any correlation with what's in here? So Explorer, happiness the happiness of self-fulfillment is the nature of the relationship. It's the Venus in Capricorn, and the archetype is Hermione Granger. Okay, brilliant, seeing as I love Harry Potter. Positive side, all she needs is herself. She's not looking for happiness outside herself and is not waiting for a dream prince. Reliable, persistent and thorough. She has a masculine way of thinking. She can think logically, think in a structured way, and work independently and bring real results. Yes. Problematic side, eccentric with autistic inclinations. Holy shit. Rough and unadaptable, could, yeah. Loneliness is more pleasant for her than living in a relationship. She cannot empathise with others. She perceives the surrounding world through tables and formula. Now, could I be offended by that? If I was a snowflake, yes, I could. But, you see, autism runs through our genes. Would I say I have autistic traits myself? No. Would I say I have specific traits to anything? No. Would I say I'm eccentric? Yes. Would I say I am comfortable? I wouldn't say loneliness. I would say, am I comfortable in my own company? Absolutely, without a doubt. I would not be without the relationship that I have now. I treasure it. I love it. I idolise it. I can empathise with others, which rules out whether I am on the ASD spectrum, but would give it's the fact it's mentioned ASD when both myself, my sister, have children who are on the spectrum, and would query whether, where does it come from? The fact that it's in both mine and my sister's family, has to have come through our gene line, I presume. And I would say that everybody has some form of ASD about them, because it's an amazing trait to have, because people on the spectrum seem to have an amazing way about them to deal with life. It can sometimes be sad to see, it can sometimes be difficult to not interfere and say, here, let me help you. But the fact that it's mentioned it there has been like oh wow, that's something. As a lover, she can be seduced. She can be seduced at all. As a lover, if she can be seduced at all, it's mostly out of scientific curiosity. She experienced intimate rapprochement in a complicated way. Yeah, probably. Yeah. As a wife, she is not family orientated. Take that. I don't agree with that. She wants to dedicate her life to research. She runs her household like a laboratory. I can do that now that my kids are older. And yes, this would be like my own little laboratory, apothecary, meditation zone. So yes, since my children have left home, I have the time, the availability, the enjoyment out of discovering things for myself. So in a way, that is correct. I would not agree where it says I'm not family orientated, because I'm nothing but family orientated. I love things to do with family, but my family give me space. My family give me time. My family allow me that distance where I can spend the time doing what I want to do. And when I come out of my little hibernative time, I rejoin them and things carry on. As a mother, she enjoys learning with children, which in a way contradicts what it says as a wife, that she's not family orientated, because you would have to be family orientated if you enjoy learning with your children. She enjoys learning with children and stimulating curiosity in them. She has a hard time perceiving them as infants before they start to make sense. I loved them as infants. I loved to watch the magical steps they took, and the fact that all three of them developed so differently to each other, and are such different and unique characters, has given me nothing but joy in my life. In fact, hubby and I were only saying the other day, had we actually got together the 10 years when we met previously, before we actually got into a relationship, we'd probably have another 5 or 6 children. Be heading for our own football team. Life tasks. She can only be herself when she's alone. Yes, I think so, because if I was myself in a crowd, I think that some people say, Jesus, I think she needs some sort of assessment. Yet she's perfect. Yet her perfectly tidy soul is sometimes overwhelmed by the fear of failure, of helplessness, of unexpected loss, when her beloved loneliness will be a nuisance to her. Very true. At such moments she is closest to thawing her heart and opening up to the world that is not nearly as critical of her as she is of it. Or she is not nearly as critical of her as she is. So yes, I am self-critical. There's a lot to be said about these cards. We've looked at the interpretation. There's a lot I've agreed with. There's a lot I've disagreed with. But the parts that I've disagreed with can be interpreted quite in the same vein, but in a different way. For instance, the way we looked at inventor. That the fact that a person could be deemed an inventor, and yet this book says through sciences, etc., etc., you can be an inventor just by reinventing yourself on a daily basis, looking and adjusting how you view things. So that can be taken quite loosely. When I'm going to be using these cards, I will use these cards mixed. I will use them in 2 separate piles. I will use them in all ways. We've pulled 2 cards for me today. One came from the blue side, one came from the red side. Both of them mixed together. If you take out the sort of gender labelling, there's a lot that blended together. So would I use these? Yes, I would. I would take a look at this and I'm going to read through this, and yet what I may do with these is sit down and see what I get from them myself, and then compare it to what's in the book, almost like cross-referencing our intuition. Do I think that Marie was wrong in any of her interpretations? No, I don't, because those are Marie's interpretations. We all interpret things very differently. Do I think that these cards will be useful? Yes, I do. Would I promote them? Yes, I do. I promote them. I wouldn't get overexcited about the fact it's split into the male and female, particularly if you don't sort of identify as a particular gender, because these can be used as a whole. If you want to use the book and you feel that, you can't use it because it uses gender, just use a marker and take the he or she out and read what is there. Because I think these can be beneficial in the fact it gives us, let's look at ourselves. Now, when we were looking there at the friend, for instance, or it wasn't friend, what was that one? The explorer. And I sort of, do I agree with that? When you actually think and sit back and go, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. It makes a hell of a lot of sense on maybe a different level to what Marie was thinking at the time. But like I say, when you make cards like this, it's going to mean different things to different people. And that's what's just, excuse me, hiccuping, that's what's just happened. So folks, do I like these cards? Yes, I do. I actually think they're going to be a fascinating thing to explore. I think I'm going to enjoy this exploration. I'm going to enjoy the art. The art is second to none. I do like it. I love the colour. I love the brightness. I love the vibe of it. It's a very gentle vibe. But when I met Marie, she came across as a very gentle soul, and a very likeable gentle soul, as did her husband. So if you are interested in these, I will put a link below to Marie's information. I'm not sure if she posts abroad. She may do, but it's always worth asking. You can follow her. Her address is here. Okay. So it's Marie Brozova. She's at the Gallery Pastelka. This is the address here. You can follow her on Facebook here and on Instagram. And she's at www.angels-fairies-unicorns.com. And it's pastelki.cz on Facebook and pastelski_cz on Instagram. So that was a nice afternoon's chat. P.S. Just want to add, I bought some of the colouring pencils that were being sold in Marie's art gallery, and I'm really looking forward to using them. I left with a gift from them, which is a beautiful angel, a guardian angel who watches over, strengthens and protects you. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And here are my pencils. Here they are. They are beautiful. They have more than one colour in the nib, you can see, and they're great for shading and mixing colours. So just wanted to share that with you too. Take care.